Alright guys, this is Miss Ramage and we're going to do a couple examples with Xbox factoring. Alright, so this first example we are looking at is x squared minus 7x plus 10. So we first need to figure out which part represents A, which is B, and which is C. A is the coefficient of the x squared term. So if you don't see anything in front of that x squared, the coefficient is assumed to be a 1. Alright? B is your coefficient of what's in front of your x term. Don't forget about the sign. So B is negative 7. C is the constant here at the end, so we have a positive 10. Alright? So when we're putting it into our actual x box, up top, we want to take A and multiply it by C. So A times C is going to give us a positive 10. And on bottom, we're going to put our B. So we're going to put a negative 7. Alright? So when you're trying to figure out this puzzle, what you're thinking of is what two numbers are going to add to give you negative 7 and multiply to give you a positive 10. Alright? So in this case, when you add to get a negative number but multiply to get a positive number, I know that both my numbers have to be negative, because negative plus a negative gives you a negative. Negative times a negative will get you a positive. Alright? So I'm going to think of what two numbers multiply to give me 10, add to give me negative 7, and those are going to be negative 5 and negative 2. Alright, because negative 5 plus negative 2 will give me negative 7. Negative 5 multiplied by negative 2 will give me a positive 10. Alright, to write these two in your answer, you're going to say x minus 5 because it's a negative 5. And x minus 2 because it's a negative 2. And these are your two factors of this quadratic. Alright? So let's look at our second example when a is not 1. Alright, so in this case we have 3x squared plus 27x plus 60. So again, let's pull out what our a, our b, and our c are. Well, in this case, a is not 1. Alright, so to make it a little easier for our Xbox factoring, before we begin, we want to factor out the GCF. So looking at these three terms, I'm going to think, what is the greatest common factor that I can pull out? And the greatest factor that I can pull out of all three terms is a 3. Alright? So once I pull out that 3, I have to think of what does that leave me. Well, 3x squared divided by 3, I'm going to be left with x squared. 27x divided by 3, I'm going to be left with 9x. Positive 60 divided by 3, I'm going to be left with a positive 20. Alright? So now this looks a little more familiar, and it's going to be a little bit easier as we use the Xbox factoring. So let's pull out A, B, and C. A, I don't see a coefficient in front of x squared, so it's assumed it's a 1. B, my coefficient of x is this positive 9. And C, my constant is a positive 20. Alright, I'm going to go in and fill in the x box just like we did before. A times C is going to give me a positive 20, and my B is a positive 9. Alright, so same puzzle as we did above. I have to think of what two numbers will add to give me 9, multiply to give me 20. If you're ever stuck on these, the easiest way to go about it for me is to start with this top number 20 and think of all the factors that will multiply to give you 20 and see which combination will add to give you 9. And in this case, it's a positive 5 and a positive 4. 5 plus 4 adds to give you 9. 5 times 4 multiplies to give you 20. All right, so now to write our final answer, it's a little different this time. Remember, we pulled out that GCF of 3 up here, so that still needs to come down. And this time we're going to have x plus 5 times x plus 4, because both of these are positive, so I'm adding. So then these are your factors.